I want to move to some other topics of the day, if I can. When you were Immigration Minister, why did you reverse Philip Ruddock's decision to deport senior Calabrian mafia figure Frank Mataferi? This has been the subject, of course, of a joint Fairfax-ABC investigation.
Yes. Well, look, I only wish that when I was Immigration Minister, Minister Ruddock's decision to cancel his visa and get rid of him had in fact been implemented. But of course it hadn't. There were years and years this guy had been in detention. I think he was at the point he was given a visa back in home detention. There was a report from a psychiatrist saying he was deteriorating in his mental health in detention, and a report from a UN committee saying it was inappropriate to send him away. So, you know, I probably would have made the same decision of Philip at that time. But years down the track, you'll remember this, Virginia, the government was under attack for keeping people in detention longer than they would be if they'd been serving a jail sentence for something. So we had someone who was in detention who we had the UN saying, you can't do this to his family. He hadn't done anything wrong in Australia. I think the AAT thought, therefore, you could say maybe it turned over a new leaf. Now, we clearly know that wasn't the case, but we didn't know that at the time, and had some mental health issues as a consequence of being in detention. Now, you'll know that was raised all the time, mental health issues of detainees. It's raised now. So giving him back a visa that the AAT had decided he should have, and Philip overturned the AAT, at the time didn't seem to be a bad decision, because if he had misbehaved in any way, and remember he hadn't all the time he was in Australia, then he would be back in detention.
Police assessments suggest that you're...
Virginia, now that you're there, let me make this point, because I've made this point to Fairfax on a number of occasions, and strangely they don't bother to cover it, because they like to say there was a fundraising dinner where donations were made. If anyone likes to check the law, they will find that at the time of that dinner, it was simply not possible to give this guy a visa. Once Philip had cancelled it, in order to give it back, it would have had to have gone to a motion of both Houses of Parliament, you know, like when you want to sack a judge or something. And it was a consequence of subsequent changes to legislation made because of pressure, because the Liberal government was too hard on people in detention, that it became possible to give him back a visa. So I didn't let him into the country. I gave him back his spouse visa that the AAT said he could have. He hadn't misbehaved when he was here. With hindsight, we know that was not a sensible decision.
Well, but leaving aside hindsight for a second, there were police warnings at the time, police warnings in the lead up to this, and clearly affecting Philip Ruddock's decision, that Mataferi was a violent criminal who posed a major risk to the community. Now, notwithstanding how long he'd been in detention, that assessment had not changed.
Well, Virginia, I'd be happy to have a long discussion at some point with somebody about this, but I was not invited onto this program to have this discussion, as you know, and I didn't respond to Fairfax because we've been through this years and years and years ago, and they're now rehashing it. All I can tell you is what I know, and that is this guy had been in detention for a significant period of time. Philip's decision to get rid of him hadn't been implemented. We had psychiatric reports that he was deteriorating. We had a UN decision saying it would be unfair to deport him and leave his family, and he hadn't done anything wrong while he was here. So it's all very well for nudge, nudge, wink, wink from the cops to say this person's a violent person. As I recall, and I am 62, so my memory might not be that good, but as I recall, he hadn't committed any serious offences in Australia.
All right, well, police assessments that arise from these programs that have just been put to air, and that's why we're discussing them, they suggest that your South Australian Senate office had probably been infiltrated by mafia figures. I want to make clear here that the program says that there was no suggestion of any wrongdoing on your behalf. But do you know now how that actually managed to happen?
Well, I don't agree that it did happen, and I would have thought, Virginia, that given the security clearances that are put on to ministers and ministerial staff and staff in electoral offices, that if the police or any investigative agency had thought that at the time, something would have been done about it, wouldn't you?